Where your treasure is, there will your heart be also. God has hidden unlimited treasures in His Word. Every time we open it, we can discover a new treasure, or admire an old one. What will we find today? Let's dig in. Here's Carla Early with Treasure Hunt in the Word.
The first 4 chapters of the book of Daniel show the Lord doing many mighty works, but also pursuing one man, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon. God had already used this foreign idolatrous king to bring judgment on God's people by taking them into captivity, but now we see God lovingly, relentlessly pursuing Nebuchadnezzar, giving him chance after chance to humble himself and believe. First, the Lord orchestrated it so that Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, Azariah become part of the group of wise men that advised the king. In chapter 2, God reached out to Nebuchadnezzar by revealing to him a dream of which he had planned to do for the future. And he provided Daniel, with the prayer support of his friends, to interpret the dream. Though the king acknowledged Daniel's God as a God of gods, Lord of kings, we see in chapter 3 he was still far from following the Lord because he set up a golden image and required all of his leaders to worship it. When he threw Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah into the fiery furnace, and they came out unscathed after walking in the fire with the Son of God, Nebuchadnezzar seemed convinced. He said, "Blessed be the God of Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. There is no other God who can rescue this way." But in chapter 4, we see from a personal letter from King Nebuchadnezzar what the Most High God had done for him. He wrote it and sent out letters about his testimony, about how God had done mighty things for him. His letter told how he had another disturbing dream. In his interpretation, Daniel told the king what would happen to him. He would become like an animal, eating grass and everything, until he knew that the Most High rules the kingdom of men and gives it to whom he will. Daniel counseled him to stop sinning and show mercy, acknowledge that God is over you. But Nebuchadnezzar didn't take his advice and continued living as he wanted. Then one day, when he was walking on the roof, Nebuchadnezzar said, "Is this not the great Babylon which I have built by my mighty power as a royal residence for the glory of my majesty?" But this is what happened. In verse 31, it says, "While the word was still in the king's mouth, a voice fell from heaven. 'King Nebuchadnezzar, to you it is spoken, the kingdom has departed from you, and they shall drive you from men, and your dwelling shall be with the beasts of the field. They shall make you eat grass like oxen, and 7 times shall pass over you until you know that the Most High rules in the kingdom of men and gives it to whomever he chooses.' That very hour the word was fulfilled concerning Nebuchadnezzar. He was driven from men and ate grass like oxen. His body was wet with the dew of heaven until his hair had grown like eagle's feathers and his nails like bird's claws." King Nebuchadnezzar had been warned, but to get his attention, the Lord had to humble him. God sent a very rare mental disorder. They think it might be what is called lycanthropy. He had it for 7 years. Now, talk about humbling. Wow. Has God ever had to humble you? You've probably never found yourself out in the yard eating grass, but how about humble pie? Those never taste too good, but we always learn from it, don't you think? It seems like Nebuchadnezzar learned from it because he ended his letter about his extraordinary experience with this: "And at the end of the time, I, Nebuchadnezzar, lifted my eyes to heaven, and my understanding returned to me. And I blessed the Most High and praised and honored him who lives forever. For his dominion is an everlasting dominion, and his kingdom is from generation to generation. All the inhabitants of the earth are reputed as nothing. He does according to his will in the army of heaven, and among the inhabitants of the earth. No one could restrain his hand or say to him, 'What have you done?' At the same time, my reason returned to me, and for the glory of my kingdom, my honor and splendor returned to me. My counselors and nobles resorted to me, and I was restored to my kingdom, and excellent majesty was added to me. Now I, Nebuchadnezzar, Praise and extol and honor the King of heaven, all of whose works are truth, and his ways are justice. And those who walk in pride he is able to put down. We know that all through Scripture, God makes it clear that pride is a negative human quality, and humility is what we should strive for. 1 Peter 5:5 says, "Yes, all of you be submissive to one another, be clothed with humility, for God resists the proud but gives grace to the humble." So we don't want our lives to be ruled by pride. As Romans 12:3 says, we are not to think of ourselves more highly than we ought to think. It's a hard lesson, but one I need to learn so I can see God for who he is without having myself in the way. So I can glorify him instead of myself, so people can see the Lord instead of seeing me. How is God calling you to humility? If Daniel was your advisor, how would he advise you to live in order to avoid God stepping in to make you humble? How can you give him glory in your life?
You can contact us at treasurehuntintheword@gmail.com. Also, if you'd like to share a treasure God has given you by doing an episode, please contact us. You can listen to other episodes on our website, which you'll find in the description below. Thanks for listening, and remember, where your treasure is, there will your heart be also.